Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of Rocket League car designing with me, Vixer. Today I will be doing the first episode in what hopefully will be a new series, as has been many times on my channel before. Yeah. I do notice that the video is pretty long if you look at that, or watch time, it's pretty long. But it's mostly me trying to go into detail about the certain car design processes that I go through and thoughts I have, different stuff we can try out. And yeah, I just want to give people a basic look into what it's like doing car designs properly, not just smashing a lot of items onto your car and saying, it's good, and then just playing with it. Like actually making conscious design choices and trying to match colors perfectly and trying to do cool themes with cars so that it really looks nice. If there's any suggestions that you have for me to do in the future, like different items that you want to see done, different painted stuff, maybe what can I do with this black market, what kind of tips and tricks are there, what small stuff can you do, what can I watch out for, any stuff like that, I'd be glad to help as far as I can. I don't think I'm qualified that much to go into the advanced designing stuff, if that makes sense. I like doing basic and slick designs. That's what I've been good at, and that's what I've just stuck to. Anyway, I hope you do enjoy the video. If you do watch it through, thank you very much, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Enjoy. Bye. So today in the first episode, we're going to be looking at what I can do with my inventory I have already. So this is a very weird subject because it will be different for everybody. As you can see, my inventory is, I'd say, medium-sized, probably. I have a few black markets. I have a few painted stuff. But in my opinion, it doesn't depend on how large your inventory is. Size doesn't always matter. Haha, I'm alright. Yeah. It kind of depends on the quality. If you've got a lot of different painted stuff in your inventory, like weird and wacky wheels that you can use, or good colors that you can use, or double colored stuff like painted Infineons, for example, which I do not have, unfortunately, you can make a lot out of your inventory. And I'm going to show you how you can do that in this video. So first of all, what you want to do when you're looking at your inventory to make a good car design, it all depends what direction you want to go in. You can make it clean, you can make it messy, you can make it however you want. You can go after a certain theme. But for today, I'm just going to be concentrating on one item and trying to make a car around it, just to show you all as an example. So we're going to go over to our painted filters here. Let's hide our filters so we can see a bit more. And I'm just going to pick a wheel. I'm just going to scroll through and see what wheel I like to use. I'm not going to try and do white or grey or black or something, because I want to be a bit colourful here just to show. I think we're going to go with... You know what? I think we should go with a bit of an unpopular color. I'm going to go with my burnt sienna troikas. Oh, I don't want to trade them up. That's the wrong choice. So let's go over to the wheel tab. Let's scroll down. Let's pick our troikas out. Now, the troikas are pretty interesting. Let me actually just put my bloom on, because then we can see a bit more of the wheel, and we don't want to stop the wheel from looking good. You know what I mean? Is the bloom on now? I actually can't tell. Apparently it's on. Okay, sure, whatever. So we have our beautiful wheels here. Now, the first thing I would do by doing any car is probably go over to the paint tab over here, and we have a look what colors would fit best. So what I usually do, I slap on any decal that's kind of has the majority of the car on it, like wings, for example, or like stripes I usually quite like to use because it's a nice contrast. Then you can also see the side stripe with the wheel. You can complement that pretty well. And then we're just going to have a look at the colors and think what we can do with this. So the first thing that strikes me, we have a lot of orange, gold, and dark orange or burnt sienna tones. So what I want to do is I'm going to go back to my inventory. I'm just going to do this for an example. And I'm going to have a look what other burnt sienna items I have, just to see what I could do. So I see already we have a burnt sienna Chantico, also a red one and a white one. So we have plenty of variety in decals, which is good. We have a Cirrus boost in burnt sienna, so maybe we can try to do something with that. And orange, which means it's going to be a pretty lighter. I've got all the trails, so I haven't got all the trails, but I've got both trails we could use. Now, this also depends if you want to use toppers or not. If you're really comfortable using toppers, then also go ahead and select the topper, because toppers are important to do before you do the car, in my opinion, because you always have to mix and match them as well. Now, what interests me is we have a tachyon boost here. This is also burnt sienna. Now, I know from the tachyon boost, from the standard one, that it's got multiple colors in it. So I'm going to have a look and see if the tachyon boost has multiple colors in it. Just as little insight, you know? So I'm going to select the tachyon boost. Ooh, we have very different colors that's on the wheels here. Now this is something you need to watch out for, because in this game there's a lot of boosts and different items that have more colors on it and that mix and match and kind of maybe don't mix that much. So for example, we would not pick the burnt sienna tachyon here because almost none of the colors that are in the boost, the start of the boost would match perfectly to our car, but you see here the boost has got dark greens in it and reds and light orange and doesn't really match our wheels. So we're going to pick a different boost. Now I like getting the boost done already at the beginning because it gives you more of a theme to the car. Now our orange enchanter it's orange, but it matches the inside of the trikers quite well. So I think we're going to go with that just for the start. Oh yeah, we want to look at the Cirrus as well. Now the Cirrus boost is darker. It would match the outside tread, but because the outside tread is not what you see the most, we're going to try to match the inside, so the gold part of it. Maybe the orange Cirrus could give us more insight into that. I'm just going to use the Enchanter, just out of the reason that the orange Cirrus and the Enchanter have similar shades, and we're just going to go for the Enchanter because I just favour the boost more. If you want to go for that Enchanter or for the Cirrus, pick whatever you want. So where do we go from here? Now we have a kind of direction for our car. We know which colours we're going to use. We are going to use the golden and brown colours from our wheel. We could go onto the decal next. This is what I like doing because you build your car body more. So we have a burnt sienna Chantico. Ooh, my Bacchus mod is acting up. Let me just disable items. There we go. Sorry about that. Technical difficulty. So we have a burnt sienna Chantico. Now I know as well I have a burnt sienna Octane, which is coincidental, but good. So first tip that I would say with car designs, look at your inventory, look what you want to build around. That's the most important thing if you want to build around an item. And then have a look in your inventory what other items have the same colors. Also with Cobalt, I give as a special tip, Cobalt has a lot of different shades, which isn't a good thing. It can be a good thing, but I don't find it that good because it's hard to work with. So look what other items you have with that color that maybe you like using. And also if you have two painted items, like two color painted items, like Infiniums for example, they always get painted with two colors except for if it's white, black or gray. Then have a look if you have any other items that are painted two colors. So for example, if we have here for example, a Hypernova. No, the Hypernovas is a bad example. Let's not take that as an example. So for example, we have I got anything good here? Let's take the Tachyon that we had, right? So if it's orange, green and brown, maybe because Sonics is a great company and they think about this stuff, there are certain items that also have the same color matching. So have a look out for that. Watch out for that. So now we've got our wheels, we've got our decal, we got our boost. Now for the trail it's pretty easy. Usually you just take the boost that matches the the trail that matches the boost the most, or that matches your car. So for the moment we're just going to put on a burnt sienna laser wave. I don't know why I don't have that favorited. There you go. Just a burnt sienna laser wave, just to get us in the mood, you know, the mood. Now we get onto the hard stuff, the paints. How to do this. So what I would recommend is I like always starting off with the blue side because I find blue side cars are so easy to design for me, but I'm going to make an exception and I'm going to say as a second rule of car designing, if you have a car with painted items on it, try to always do the side that you think is going to be easier first and then figure out the other side. So for example, we have a lot of brown shades here, we have gold, so I would lean towards doing the orange side first. So what do we have here? How do we do this? So first of all, what I always do when I select colors is I go to match colors that I already have on my car. So we're going to take the gold of the inside wheels of our troikas first of all, and we're just going to try to get roughly the same color of it. I think I'm going to go with, it's more yellowy, it's more like a dark yellow like this. Now what we're going to do, we're going to have a look at the wheel, and if you look here, if I turn my car a bit by bit, on the inside of the troikas you can see that there are some glossed lines, or I'd even say it looks like a brushed metal texture. So what we're going to do, just to try this out, we're going to pick brushed metal, and you see how the texture of the car and the texture of the wheel is the same, or roughly the same. There you go. Then we have a nice little theme going on here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to think about what I can do with this decal. So we have one textured primary. We have burnt sienna highlights, which looks pretty nice because it contrasts with the main color. Now what you don't want to do is, especially if you have a painted decal, which should be kind of obvious, you don't want to just match the colors, because then you could just pick the same, right? So you could go for something wacky. I'm going to try to go over that in a future episode, doing very different colors, not color matching. But for the meantime, I'm just going to stay with color matching. So what we're going to do, we're going to have a look. Now, burnt sienna we have here, but as you see, the burnt sienna on the Chantico arrow, on the Octane it's a bit darker, but on the tread it's very dark in compared to what the burnt sienna on the Chantico arrow is. Also, that can also be affected by the primary as well. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a dark burnt sienna like this that matches the color a lot more. So we have the dark brown. I'd even say that's a bit more orangey, but this doesn't work. So we're going to go down. Black you can also do. Black is always a good option, or white as a secondary. This would also be fine, but I'm just going to try to match as much as possible. Now, we have a primary brushed metal. I want to do something a bit funky with the arrow. I don't just want it to be a matte arrow or glossy arrow and be a bit boring, you know. So what we're going to do, we're going to think about, well, we've got a kind of sparkly surface. So let's go through and have a look what we could do. We could do a sun damage, which is usually the option, but then we kind of mess up our colors. Sun damage makes all colors darker. Also, textures like semi-gloss and anodized make all the colors lighter, so always remember that. Now the dyno I would like to use, because I've never really used it, but I really don't want to go there because I really don't like it. So I like this look, right? Because it's an arrow, it's like an Aztec arrow or Native American arrow, so it's kind of got that tribal feel about it. So if you use the corroded metal, it would kind of look like a rock arrow or a stone arrow or whatever. What we're going to do here, I think, oh, that's the primary, we don't need this. I'm going to do it a bit in the different direction. I'm not going to make it a bit darker and a bit more ancient. I'm going to make it a bit more funkier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the metallic flake so that it's not as... I think I'm going to use the metallic flake. I'm not sure yet. I might go back to it. But for the moment, I'm just going to use it because it's got that very... I always like using metallic flake just because it's nice to have two textures on your car. Because if I would match the texture on my car for the brushed metal, you see that the decal blends in with the primary color. And it's okay if you match both. With matte, it works very well. But I think if you're using more textured layers, like camouflage, for example, or carbon fiber, or different kind of textures, you should probably go for something on your decal that will separate it from the main color. So I'm going to use metallic flake to get it a bit more sparkly because the brush metal is sparkly. And yeah, now going out of this, I think we have a pretty nice car. What I would even do, going back into it, now the boost also kind of makes sense because it looks like the fire of the arrow coming out the back. I would even change it maybe for a flamethrower orange if I had one. I don't have one though, which is kind of a shame. But you know. Now also one thing that I will also say as well, if you don't have the items and you don't want to buy them, try not to use what doesn't fit. Say for example, I think a flamethrower is an amazing idea for this car. Now, the last thing I want to do is go, oh, I'll slap a red one on it, it kind of fits, whatever, let's go. if you really want to do car designing, you should not be in the state of mind where you go, oh, that's fine. You should always try to get the perfect match. So I'd use, for example, the Enchanter. Now we see the Cirrus makes even less sense because I don't think it really matches to the theme and the stuff I'm going with, because I want to make it kind of sparkly and kind of cool. Speaking of sparkly, people who might know me or do know me know that I love to use my sparkle boost, which personally, if I was using this car, I'd use, because the orange fits well with all the orange shades and it's very sparkly and it looks kind of cool. But for this example, I'm just going to use the Enchanter because I think it looks pretty cool. Now we go onto our trails. Now this is where you revisit your old decisions and say, does this fit? Does this still fit? Can I find something better now that I have a certain theme and a certain design? For example, I go back now and I say, oh, the laser wave is good, but we could get better with the hot rocks, because the hot rocks have the lines and the stones that I also have in my arrow decal, because I have my stone arrow and I have my flaming stone arrow, and this is flames and stones, so super. Now one boost I would probably use for this car if I had it would be a orange or burnt sienna Geosoul, because the Geosoul boost also has small stones in it and also has a kind of fiery vibe going about it, so it would fit perfectly, but I have not got it, so I will not use it. So next we have the big task of doing the mismatching side. We go over to blue side and we notice that it does not look very nice. So what I do if I have a mismatched color, which basically I interpret as having a color that does not fit to all the painted items I have. Let's say we do not have any brown shades or orange shades here at all. Now we do have orange and brown shades here as a secondary. This is what I usually do if I do not know where to start. We take the shade and the texture that we have on our orange side and we just take the same on the side that does not match. Now we have a bit more filled out. It's kind of like doing a puzzle where you don't know what the puzzle pieces are, but as you determine what puzzle pieces you want, the more they start to fit together and the more you can complete your puzzle. That's basically what designing is about. So what I usually do with orange and brown and burnt sienna cars on the blue side, now is usually go for something a bit darker, because you want the orange to be the focal point. You don't want anything that's bright like this, because it would kind of take away from the whole orange theme you've got going on the other side. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to go for a dark car just to test it out. Now at first glance this looks completely rubbish. It does, 100%. The burnt sienna lifts very nicely off of the dark blue, but we don't have our theme here. We don't have the orange. The orange is only in the wheels. We don't have it as we do here on the primary. So what we do, we don't use the primary then as a matching color, we use the secondary. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the arrow color that we picked out previously, and we notice now it doesn't fit. So what we're going to do, we're going to adjust it so that it fits. I would probably just use one higher or two higher in this case, just to match with the inside of the wheel. And then let's try brushed metal, seeing as that's what we use on the others. Now I don't like this a lot because you don't really see the brushed metal with lighter colors. So I'm just going to change it back to metallic flake because I think this looks a lot more sparklier. Now what you also can try out if you want to as well, if you have a car where actually I want to see if this goes one lighter, then we don't really fit the gold of the wheel, so I'm just going to stick this there. Now what you can also do, if the second, like say for example we have the same example that I just presented, if the secondary color does not fit to your contrasting side, I would recommend trying to use the primary color of the second of your fitting car preset. So here for example we used kind of the same orange that we did here. Because of the metallic flake it gets a lot darker. If I were to use semi-gloss for example, where is it here? I don't have semi-gloss there. It would not fit because it would be too bright, but because I use metallic flake it kind of works. If I would use sun damage for example, it would not work at all. So always be aware of what paint finishes you use. Always try to experiment with paint finishes and colors as well. If there's a nice color that you like and it's maybe too light or too dark, try experimenting with paint finishes. Okay, so now we have everything matching. Now I will say this, I know that Moz Edits, who is like the #1 car designer probably in the whole of the Rocket League community, he matches his colors absolutely perfectly. Now I'm not at the stage where I can really pull that out at a moment's notice, so that's where my color matches are always kind of there, because I also like doing it a bit more freely and having a play around with it once it's done. So just to note, if you do see these colors and they do not match perfectly with the gold, say here for example, I'm not expecting anyone to match colors perfectly once they're trying to start car designing, right? You just get better with it for a time, so yeah. Anyway, so we get onto our primary. Now, what do we do here? We have a dark blue. Are we happy with it? So always when you ask yourself, am I happy with this stage? After every stage of your design, you should ask yourself, does this work? Okay, what now? So I've finished matching some stuff. Now I go, okay, now my primary. What do I do with this, right? Do I do a lighter color? No, I don't like that. Do I do a green maybe? A dark green? Maybe like a kind of clay color? That could work, apparently, but I think just have a little play around, see what you're comfortable with. If you like these colors, go ahead. I'm just gonna pick a darker one here, just because I want the arrow and the fieriness of it just to pop out from the background or primary color of the car. What we're gonna do now, I don't like the glossy paint finish myself. I'd probably just use matte, but because I don't find that the arrow and the whole design is really exploding that much or popping out, as John Salmon likes to call it, wow that pops quote, we're going to make it even darker. Now, as you may have remembered from as we were trying to match our secondary over here with the paint finishes, we can use sun damaged or different textures to make the paint darker. For example, here you already see with corroded metal it makes it a bit darker, but the king of making your car darker is sun damaged. Now, if you want to go for a sleek design, I'd recommend doing this on the blue side. On red side, say for example here, if we use sun damaged, on red side sun damage is very hard to do in my opinion. So we're just going to pick this. You could also use glossy blocks as well. I just don't have glossy blocks at the moment, but glossy blocks is the second paint finish, the second best paint finish for making your paints darker. So, I quite like this. I'm going to say, okay, super, give it a name. I don't know, I'm just going to call it the golden arrow. There we go. Super. Now what we're going to do is we're going to hop into local play. I don't think I've set this up correctly, but whatever. We're just going to roll with it. Now we're just going to join the blue side and just have a look. Do we like this car? Now I think this is a pretty basic car. As we're looking at it, I've just created a game with bots. Oh well. Professionalism, everyone. Professionalism. So this car is pretty good. I'm probably going to cut this, whatever. Garage, there we go. So, at the start we are... Oh no. Okay. So now we have our blue and orange side. Tips for going further with this design. I have my blue side. I'm pretty happy with this blue side, I have to say. Maybe play around with this. Maybe if I'm feeling a bit funkier, we go for metallic pearl instead, just to get that nice glossy. Or we go for a pearlescent matte look. Just make it pop a bit more. But I think this is kind of too much. But that's just me. Do what you think is comfortable. So I'm going to go with the sun damage here just to make my arrow stand out a bit more and just not to overdo it that much. What we're going to do, I'm going to go back to my orange side actually, because I think now I don't like this design. I'm going to do this a bit differently. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to keep this a bit on the golden side, but instead of brush metal, I'm going to use a metallic because it sparkles a bit more and I quite like it. So we're going to use metallic flake as the primary now, not as the secondary. And then because I want my arrow even to stand out now, I'm going to use a different kind of paint finish. So now what you see me doing is just going through all the paint finishes, seeing what looks good, seeing what works well. I quite like the wood actually. It makes it look kind of different. But that's not what we're here for. Now we could even use the sun damage here. But I don't think that looks very good. I'm just thinking if it's really worth it to use any other paint finish here. I think I'm just going to stick with a corroded metal. Just to get the general sense of the old arrow. That also looks pretty good, I have to admit. I'm just going to stick with the corroded metal though. Just to give it that matte kind of... It's kind of matte metallic flake, if that makes sense. I don't know how to describe it. So yeah, there you have two cars that have good, I'd say good. It's your opinion. Just to give you an insight on color item matching. This is what the car will look like. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this series. And I hope you watched and enjoyed, and that's not what I'm going to say. Also, one tip that I would also give, now that we have our paint finishes and everything, now I see we've used metallic flake twice, which I'm pretty happy about, because now the car looks a bit more sparkly because of all the little, almost glitter, I think it looks like. So what we're going to do now, I'm just going to go back to my boost, and now I find the enchanter actually doesn't match that well, in my opinion, because I'm not going to match the flames anymore of the decal. I'm going to match the paint finish to the boost. So let's scroll up and let's select sparkles, because I just think it looks amazing with this, with the metallic flake and the arrow blazing, the golden boost behind it. Look at this, it's beautiful. So yeah, anyways, I hope you enjoyed this first episode, and I don't know if I might do a second episode if people request it. Also, send me in your inventory items or any items you want to see a design around, or any subjects that you want to really have an in-depth tutorial in. I've made this series because I think the bigger YouTubers like Sunless Khan and John Sandman and everyone like that who do kind of car design stuff with Moz, they have more of a generalized outlook on it. And it's more of, I'd say, just presenting car designs instead of actually going into the design process behind it. And I know a lot of people have requested this of Moz himself, that he do this kind of showing how he does his designs. But to be quite honest, he's very busy doing all the stuff with all the YouTubers and background stuff. So I just thought I'd just give a basic in-view. I'm not the best car designer. I'm always happy to do car designs for people if they really just tell me what they want. I just like getting some practice in and making some cool stuff. So yeah, I hope you have learned something. That would be the best for me. Best situation if you've actually learned something. And yeah, as I said, if you have any subjects you want handled, if you want any design tips or any items or certain stuff like mystery decals or boosts or anything that you want to see or have an in-depth tutorial on, or get some tips just in general, write it in the comments below. And don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and check me out on Twitch, which is also in the description. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.